Hi guys, welcome to the explanation for PT38 Game 3. This is a pretty straightforward 3 or more group game. We've got 3 groups, M, Management, Production, and Sales, and we've got exactly 7 things that are going in there. So all these spaces are going to be filled. You have just 1 person in Management, 3 in Production, and 3 in Sales. So let's work on the rules here. We got H and Y have to be together, so I'm going to put a little block there. That block with them too. That block with those 2 is going to pop in somewhere, so it's worth noting right off the bat, could never be in Management. Feng and Garcia have to be in a different department, so wherever you see F, G is out. Here's the only sort of tricky rule. If Xavier is in Sales, then we know Weiss is hired for Production. So make sure you get the contrapositive of that. If Weiss is not in Production, then Xavier is not in Sales. And then the last rule is simple. Feng is hired for Production. And when I see that, I notice right away, okay, that means G is either going in here or here. So no G in here. And whenever you see a double option like that, that's then going to make a lot of difference to how the rest of the game can order, I'm thinking right away, okay, maybe scenarios are a great idea. Let's try G in here, and then we'll try to make some scenarios with G in here. So for my first scenario, we'll start with putting G in here, and then it looks like there's 2 options. We could try the HY block in here, and that's going to put everything else in here, W, I, and X. The issue there is if X is in Sales, that would kick W to Production. So this doesn't actually work out. So as far as having G in the Management position, there's only one option. We're going to have H and Y back here. Then we don't know how W, X, and I are going to get in. I think I'd put them up here so you know what's remaining, and they're just going to dance around in these spots. So that's our first scenario. Now let's see what happens if we get G over into S. We can label this scenario number 2. So we put G in here, and then let's try having HY in here, HY. Then the one thing you know is that you can't have X and S, because if you did, it would kick W into P. So if we're going to have this scenario work, you're going to have X over here. And then the 2 remaining pieces, W and I, are going to go in here. Now we need to build another scenario here to cover what happens if we move HY into this spot. We'll call this 2B and make this 2A, because these are both scenarios where G is over here. So it's like 2 separate versions of this scenario 2 with G over an S. So now in this one, we want H and Y to be over here. And then again, we just don't really know what's going on with W, I, and X. They could move all over the place there. Might be good to put a little reminder that W, I, and X are what's going into these empty spaces again. So now you've got your 3 scenarios, 1, then 2A and 2B, and that's it. This is the whole game, and now it's going to be super, super easy to solve. And just because the scenarios aren't totally complete, I never worry about that. It's going to take very little work to finish those out if the situation calls for it. So we should be able to solve this game super fast now. At this point, you could get rid of this main scenario up here, so I'll just move these into a more ordered fashion. Okay, so let's hit the questions here. For 14, that's the acceptability question. Very easy to do with your scenarios. Just find one that works. Answer turns out to be E. We won't spend any time on that. For 15, we just have to figure out who cannot be in P. So clearly WIX can all be in P, right? YHF can all be in there as well. We see that in this scenario. So the only thing that can't be in there, the only thing you don't see in there in all of our scenarios is G, and that's the answer, D, G. Okay, for 16, we need to figure out something that, if true, it means we can tell where everybody else is. And there's only one scenario where it's all filled in totally, right? So that's kind of the logical place to look. So you might do the question that way and just jump towards C, where you see something from this scenario in there. However, probably most people are going to do this just methodically here. So Feng and Weiss both in Production. So F and W in Production. Do we see that anywhere? If F and W are in Production, we're in both these scenarios, and there's still a lot of moving parts around. So that doesn't fill out the order for us, so to speak, and you got to get rid of it. How about G and Y in sales? We see that here, and it still tells us nothing about how you're going to order WIX. They could still be flying all over the place in different positions, WXI, etc. So again, that's no help. Now, how about I and W in S? Well, we only see that one place, and it couldn't be possible in this scenario. So it just means that you're stuck in this scenario, and everything's filled in there. So it's kind of a roundabout way to do it, but if you started from the beginning here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and had I and W here, you know that Y and H are going in here. There's no room for them elsewhere. X can't be here because if it was, that would kick W out, so X is here, and then G is there. So we would see when I and W are in here, it fills them all in. Okay, for 17, each of the following could be an accurate partial list of those hired for sales, except this is going to be super easy. We just see if it could be possible with our scenario. So could you have G and I and S? Yeah, it looks possible right here, so we got to cross that out. How about G and X both in S? Do we see that anywhere? No, wouldn't be possible here, wouldn't be possible here, and wouldn't be possible here. So it's never going to work, and that's what we're looking for. That's our correct answer. Okay, on 18, Feng is hired for a position in the same department as Xavier. So it looks like that would be possible here. We put X in here, right? And it'd also be possible here. So we're looking at scenario 1 and scenario 2B for that. And then we need to find something that cannot be true here. So could we have G hired for a sales position? Yeah, sure. You can see that right here in 2B. So we got to cross that off. G and S could work. How about Herrera hired for a production position? That's never going to work because we don't see it in either scenario, right? H is always stuck in sales in both these scenarios. So it cannot be true, and that's our right answer. Okay, for 19, we're looking at all the scenarios because they're just saying X is not in production. And we could see that everywhere. Here, we could put X here, and then we're all together. Now, WI, WI. These all work, right? So all of them are in play. So what could be true here? F and H are both hired for sales. No, never see that. They're always split up. Or where they're together, they're in production. How about Herrera and Weiss both in sales? Don't see that here, don't see that here, don't see that here. So it could never be true. How about Feng and Yates both in production? That's true here, and that's all we need. One place where it could be true, and we're good. So C is our correct answer, and that finishes out the game. So pretty easy game if you have the scenarios. If you don't, I think it's going to take a lot more time. So just remember, each time you see a situation where scenarios can work, it's an opportunity to hone your intuition for what's a good time to do that. And this was a great time because we saw that G could only be 2 places, and then that was going to tell us a lot about where that block was going to go. And then after that, there's just not many open spaces remaining. Okay, that's the game. See you on the next one.